Welcome back to the Wilson Brothers channel. I'm Isaac. This is David. Today we are reacting to Theo interviewing Tony Robbins on his podcast this past weekend. Tony Robbins is one of my heroes. Obviously, he has created millions of successful people around the world with his talk shows, his books. But we got 5 clips that we're going to react to today.
Yeah, he's not just a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
He thinks differently.
Yeah.
He actually gets into why your brain is being programmed a specific way. Because a lot of motivational speakers, they're just like, oh, be harder, just do this and that. Now, David Goggins is like a different story. But they're just trying to inspire people in the moment. He gives you tools to actually become better.
Let's see.
So I'm excited for this
I love Theo
therapy session.
Theo Von's a comedian. Tony Robbins is a bombshell of knowledge, so this should be an interesting clash of the titans.
Awesome. This is going to be great.
It's like, you have to push yourself. When people talk about self-esteem, I hate this term. Like, so many kids were taught to get a participation trophy for something, and they thought, I'm going to build their self-esteem this way. People can tell you your whole life you're a piece of crap, and your brain can go, screw you, I'll show you, and you become somebody. People your whole life can tell you you're beautiful, you're perfect, you're the best, and you can still not believe them, be depressed about your life and think you're nobody. Your life self-esteem, your self-esteem, esteem for yourself is earned by you doing something difficult for you.
Come on.
When you do something that's incredibly hard and you push through it, your brain starts to have inner pride, not fake ego pride.
Right, so you're saying none of that other stuff, that outsider stuff doesn't really matter. Your self-esteem is truly based on your relationship with yourself?
Yes, and your ability to grow. I mean, what makes people happy? Progress. If you get some big goal, you achieve a lot of them in your life, right? There's one of two responses when you achieve the goal.
Yeah.
The horrible one is this all there is? Which a lot of people do after fighting for a goal. Is this all there is?
Oh, yeah.
But the other one is, let's say, oh, this is amazing. How long does that amazing feeling of achieving your goal last? 6 years? A year? 6 months? 6 days? 6 hours? What would you say?
The actual, for me, it doesn't last really long. I don't feel that kind of stuff very much.
Yeah, well, also you'd be numbed by those drugs, right? But for most people, it's somewhere between 6 hours and probably 6 weeks.
Right, so not super long.
No, and so the purpose of life is not just to get your goals. Your goals or you're getting what you want doesn't make you happy. What makes you happy is who you become in pursuit of those goals. So the growth, the progress, even if you don't achieve it yet, but you start losing weight, or you start building muscle, or you start making your relationship better, or you start to build a business, the progress is what makes you feel alive, because we're all made to either grow or die.
Pause.
If your relationship's not growing, it's dying. If your business is not growing, it's dying.
Dude, this freaking hypes me up because so many people I know say, oh, well, my childhood was this way. And yes, you could have had a really bad childhood, but you can actually become something regardless of that. I know people that are in the slums and they actually got out of it, and they are way more.
Dr. Ben Carson.
They're Carson. He's way more successful than us, but it wasn't because he had everything handed to him or he had more opportunity. He took the opportunity he had and made something of himself. And it fires me up, dude, because it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. You have to enjoy getting there. Our goal is to get 1 million subscribers on this channel. But you know what? I enjoy the daily work because I could go insane if I was only waiting for that 1 million subscribers, which could take some time, right? Just going at it and not seeing that result. But you have to enjoy the journey, who you become in the midst of getting there.
It's not about the destination as much as it is about the journey to get there.
Amen.
Nelson Mandela says the greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail.
Let's freaking
Because
go,
failure
dude.
is a promise. You're going to fail in your life, and Tony Robbins has failed probably more than most people have.
He had a horrible upbringing.
Yeah.
His mother, I think, was very abusive.
Yeah.
He had horrible
He had
parents.
every reason to not go after his dreams, but he realized that every time somebody verbally assaulted him or told him he can't do it, he trained his brain and his mindset to say, no, screw you. I'm going to go after what I believe in, and I'm going to succeed no matter what people tell me. And let's see what he says next.
But a lot of entrepreneurs are the only people that, quote, have that mentality. But then a lot of people let life hit them and they're like, well, I'm just not an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter who you are. You still can have that dog mentality of I'm going to determine my future.
Yeah, if you're a mother, you can raise your children that way. You can be a woman of discipline and integrity. Same with men. Even if you're not a business owner, you can go out there and you can absolutely smash it. Bring some men in your life that you can mentor, that you can help. I mean, it's really endless.
No in between bullshit. That doesn't work. So, and when you grow, you have something to give. And what makes people fulfilled is growing and giving, sharing it with somebody. Because There's only so much joy you can have by yourself. Drugs, alcohol, entertainment, sex with yourself, whatever. By yourself, there's a limit to what you can feel. That's why whenever something great happens, most of us want to tell someone, share with somebody we love. Because when you share it, it magnifies it. So that's really what we were trying to show people is how to create that kind of progress. And the problem in New Year's is, as you said, a resolution is just like, what do I want? And they don't think about it in any depth. They say it, and then here's the problem. They don't take it beyond that. You have no plan, right? Or it's a very simple plan. And by February 1, by the 1st of February, 95% of those things are already broken. But what they're really missing is there's like
my New Year's resolution in December. You know?
Well, you need a path. And so if you want to make your relationship better, your business better, your life better, it starts with knowing what you want. You gotta say, what do I want? Why do I want it? And what kind of person would I have to be to have that stay? And then you got a second step where you got to find and tell yourself the truth, which is there's a gap between where I am and where I want to be. And don't bullshit yourself. Don't go, I'm a little overweight or I'm fat because I'm big boned. No, you're fat because you have poor habits, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, some people, I remember this. People always like, he'll grow out of it. And I'm like, dude, he's 34. Like, my buddy's grandma was like, it's just baby fat. He'll grow out of it. It's like, we all have different, but it's like he ain't, Ronnie ain't growing out of it.
The reason you grow out of it is you have to see what's causing you to have that gap. And it's one of only a couple things.
All right, I got a question.
You're not big boned. You're just fat.
I got a question for the audience. Who is that Ronnie in your life?
Is it you?
Is it you? How many excuses do we make with New Year's resolutions? We don't write it down. We don't make it plain. We don't go after. Why? Is because the gap that Tony Robbins is talking about between where you are now and where you want to be can be very daunting, right? Fear, Franklin D. Roosevelt talks about the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
What is the thing in your life that you make the most excuses for? I know mine.
I know for me, it has been... Why am I not, like, what do you mean by excuse?
Like, my biggest excuse is I don't have enough time. So sometimes I miss out the gym or I'm working so late at night that I say I don't have enough time. I work probably 14 hours a day, but my problem is I have it sometimes starting at noon. So I'll work till 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. So then I'm too tired next day to go to the gym. And then I say, oh, well, I just don't have enough time. No, my problem is if I got up at 5 and worked and got done at 5 or 6 or 7, then I'd be able to get to bed at a good time.
My excuse is not enjoying the process as much as I should. So because in this generation, it's very microwave. Want it right now. I don't want to have to wait for it. And what Tony Robbins talks about a lot in any podcast he goes on, any motivational speeches, anything worth having is worth waiting for and worth fighting for.
Yes.
And it takes time to build a channel like we're building. It takes time. We didn't expect to hit 1 million subscribers overnight, but we're being consistent with our daily process and discipline to get where we want to go. And that's for everybody watching. If you want to lose weight, if you want to go to the gym more often, just start by going. Even what Justin Waller says, some of the best workouts he's had is when he really didn't want to go and it sucked, right? But he decided to go anyway. So
I love it, dude.
Either you got fear, so you're not taking action, or you might have, for example, some limiting beliefs like it never works, I've tried everything, the good ones are gone, so you don't even begin. Or you might have some emotion gets in the way, or a bad habit, or maybe just missing the skill. Like no one's ever taught you how to make money or grow a business or have a great relationship. So you're learning on the job and it's painful to learn on the job. So I've always said, find somebody who's extraordinary at something or many people. Figure out what they're doing and do that. It's called modeling. Instead of reinventing the wheel. Now you can add yourself to it. But modeling gives you the pathway to power. And then once you know what you want, why you want it, you're honest about the gap. You come up with a quick plan, not a perfect one, and you start taking action. And then you face your demons. You slay your dragons. What needs to change? Like, okay, I'm never gonna have a relationship if I'm numb all the time. So I gotta change this. It's hard, but I'm gonna do the hard thing.
Right.
And when you do the hard thing, you get momentum. And then what was hard becomes easy after a while. And that's really the secret.
I've personally never seen this, but that just hit me between the eyes. I think it's another thing I've struggled with is wanting to have the perfect plan to such an extent that I don't even write it down because I want it to be perfect. I'm my worst self-critic. I always am criticizing myself about how I could be better, but I don't actually take action on some things. And this is really challenging for me. Just it's all about that mindset. And he even said, you don't have to have a perfect plan. Just start.
You need to have the passion to search out your answers.
And modeling too. He's
Yeah.
talking about find people in your life that are better than you at a certain topic. If you want to be an entrepreneur, go find a best businessman in your town that owns a business and ask him, hey, can I work with you for free? Can I learn from you?
Yeah, one of my biggest regrets in my life was going to film school. Now, granted, I got a lot of experience, but that's 3 to 4 years of my life I won't get back. I really would have rather just spent time on YouTube learning that and got a mentor where I could have been like, hey, let me just follow you around to teach me the camera, teach me this and that. Hey, I'll do feature films for free. I'll be just a kid on set.
Intern.
Intern. I'll be a PA, whatever you need.
You would have
If I
learned
spent
so much
4
more,
years
dude.
doing that,
You would have
I
learned
wouldn't.
so
I wouldn't
much
have been.
more.
I wouldn't have been $75K in debt.
Yeah.
And I would have had more passion and more drive for it because
Well, that's low these days.
In school, I was taking English classes.
But
I'm
that's
like,
low.
what am I doing?
That student loan debt's low compared to what people
compared
are
to a
paying now.
lot of people, dude.
150K minimum.
It's about finding those people that you can learn from and mimicking how they do it. What do we do with our channel? We find channels that inspire us.
Yes.
Like Brett Cooper is a huge inspiration for me.
Yeah.
And I look and I'm like, okay, how does she do things? How does she communicate? She's super fast and talks to the camera and gets points across
Yeah,
so
she is
well.
Ben Shapiro's sister.
Well, supposedly. The rumors go around. But it's about getting better every single time, taking inspiration, not just figuring everything out on your own and thinking you have it worked out. No, there's always somebody farther along in the journey than you. How can you learn from them and get better?
Sometimes I have a tough time feeling proud of myself. Do you know what that,
I can relate.
I've had other people call in our show that have talked about that,
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I feel like, I almost feel like there's a disconnect, like it doesn't even land on me. Or I feel like maybe if I feel like I'm proud of myself, like if I actually feel proud of myself, it'll go against some script that I've always had written or some thing that was always written inside of me. It's like it's almost like it wouldn't, if I wrote on the wall of myself, I'm proud of you, it wouldn't even show up on the wall.
Wow.
What emotion would you feel if you saw that?
Like what emotion would I feel if I saw what?
I'm proud of myself. Would you go bullshit? Would you be pissed off by it? Would you be annoyed? Would you just
No, I think I'd feel ashamed of myself for even thinking it.
That's interesting. It produced an emotion in you just now, even when you just thought about it. I saw that flash in your eyes. It's just a little bit of water, a little bit of fluid.
Oh yeah, dude. Fuck, we cry on here every week.
That's beautiful.
No, it's okay. But yeah, we don't have any shame about that.
No, you shouldn't. But I'm saying liquid leaving your body in a public place, as long as it's through your eyes, is not a problem.
That's what I'm talking about, huh? Don't ask, don't ask.
That's right. Well, my point is, there's a real anchor for you there. So let me explain it to you. Everybody has what I call an emotional home.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch like a place here, and let's say, where the cyclone happens every 2 or 3 years and it wipes out everything, or a tornado comes through?
Oh, yeah.
And you see these poor people, all their stuff's all over the ground and they're picking it up, and you could have a heart of stone not to feel. They rebuild. 2 years again, it happens again. 2 years later, it happens again. Some part of you eventually goes, why don't you move? It's like, why don't you move?
A lot of Vietnam's like that. It floods. New Orleans is like that. It floods.
New Orleans like that. So here's why don't they move? Because it's home. It's what they know. We have an emotional home. We have certain emotions that got built up in your youth. And I had 4 fathers. I had a mother that was pretty intense. And I had a lot of emotions that came out of that experience. If I didn't reprogram myself, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today, because my emotional home was not good feelings. It's what I was used to. So even though it didn't feel good, you go there because it's what you know.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. So
it almost felt like I was deserting myself if I felt good about myself, which is crazy. I'd almost feel like I was leaving. I don't know. Yeah, it's almost like I know those feelings.
Finish that thought. I'm believing what?
Well, it's almost like I feel like I know those feelings of not feeling good about myself so well that I don't want to leave them alone, because we always had each other. And it was like, if I leave them, if
Have you ever had a
if
friend?
I leave them, I won't, I don't know. Does that make sense though?
Yeah, it does. You won't what?
If I leave them, I'll just be letting them down. And they're not even real, but it's a part of me, some part of me inside of me I can't even access. They're like his brothers.
That's right. They're your home, brother.
Yeah.
And by the way, I really appreciate you being so vulnerable, because the people watching there, seeing that, allow them to be vulnerable, because you're.
I've never seen Theo Vaughn that vulnerable.
I've never seen him cry almost.
I mean,
He's had tears.
But the thing is that what's beautiful about this is Tony Robbins is so good at, evoking certain emotions with the questions that he asks. That's what I take away from this video, is he's asking, what is your emotional home? I've never heard that language used that way before. And ultimately it comes down to what Theo Von's experiencing is things are coming up from his past where he's developed coping mechanisms to be okay, to sometimes feel proud of himself. But now that he's been off alcohol and he no longer drinks or does drugs, those used to be his coping mechanisms. So now you can tell he's become a lot more soft and not numb inside, and he's allowing himself to feel those emotions. What's your emotional home, David?
My emotional home, dude, what I've always reverted back to for as long as I can remember is the feeling of anxiety. And what I mean by that is I have irrational fears that I'm starting to become better at kind of releasing them. But these are irrational feels of being fired, even if I'm doing a phenomenal job. That my employers could tell me, David, like, you're killing it. You're doing the greatest job. Like, we're so honored to have you part of the team. Every video you create's phenomenal, yada, yada, boosting my ego. But then the next video I create it out of panic. I create it out of panic that if you disappoint them, your identity is destroyed, because now your identity was created as somebody that succeeds, that always pushes through and always overcomes. And if you have that one moment of being false, or if they talk down to you or call you out for something, now you're not good enough. And that's been the biggest struggle of my life, to where if anybody was disappointed with me, it would destroy me, to where, because one of my biggest love languages has always been words of affirmation, but I allowed it to control me instead of seeing it for what it is. And I just would always feel this knot in my stomach. I would be working on a video that I know I need to get done in 2 hours, and I'm like, I have to get this done, or, I'm going to be disappointing somebody. And a lot of people think that once they get wealthy, that they're going to have so much peace in their life.
No, it amplifies.
Theo Von's a multimillionaire.
But it amplifies.
But it amplifies everything wrong that you have bottled up.
So does
that
marriage.
Wealth and marriage will completely expose everything in your life that you haven't fixed.
The love of money, really, I think, is, for me, is I was always scared of, if I was to make it and be successful financially, that I would fail. Like, I would have some type of moral failure, that I would lose everything. I would lose my wife, my kids one day, and that success can either be your greatest accomplishment or your greatest failure. And so I was afraid of success being a failure to me, because there's a lot of people in my life that hit a level of success and strive for that. And once they got there, it wasn't what they thought it was.
And then their family fell apart.
Family fell apart. They had a moral failure. Their wife cheated on them, or they cheated on their wife, because money in and of itself is just a tool. If not used correctly, it can be your downfall. Exactly. Right? So money in the hands of greatness, or in the hands of somebody that has that good moral character, can be used to either hurt people, or it can be used to help people. 100%.
And I find it very interesting that Theo, when he would feel proud of himself or write it on the wall, he would feel shame.
Yeah.
Because you never, as men, we often feel that we aren't worthy of being proud of us.
But it was connected to his inner child.
Yeah, exactly.
Because his inner child was, I have to put off this certain persona, because being a stand-up comedian is hard. I mean,
it's so hard.
You're surrounded by degeneracy and foolishness all the time. So I can only imagine the circles that he's in, because most comedians, they get drunk before they go on stage. He doesn't drink anymore.
Yeah.
And he's constantly surrounded by people like Joe Rogan. As much as we love Joe, he does drink. He doesn't go crazy as much as other comedians, but constantly doing drugs and being degenerates. He doesn't do any of that. So he's having to learn how to be funny outside of having those coping mechanisms, which he's talked about on other podcasts before. So I want to see kind of where this emotional journey goes for him, and see what he shares.
You're a role model of that. It's because you're funny as shit, but to be able to be that vulnerable is beautiful. But let me just tell you something. Those are not your friends.
Yeah.
And you're not going to abandon those parts of yourself. You're going to find these other parts of yourself that need to be in charge. It's not to say that you can't have negative emotions or fears or feelings, but the ones that don't support you, you got to break that pattern. And the way you break the pattern first is you start to see, you get a new experience. If I get you an experience where you feel like you actually felt proud of yourself without those feelings, and there was no sense of loss, and I did that with you for days and days, you'll never go back.
Wow.
Because your brain will go, what the F? I'm not going back to that bull. Those weren't my friends. It'd be like, it's like having a friend that beats the shit out of you every single day. And it's like I'm letting him down if I don't let him beat the shit out of me, right? It's like, oh, no, I got to be there for him.
Great analogy.
Out of me all the place, right? That's
Great
pretty much what
It's
goes
crazy to hear, dude. You're like, damn, here we go again.
And so then what happens, though, is the reason you went for the antidepressants is it's so overwhelming that numbing at least feels a little less. I'd rather see you cry and feel the pain, even though I want you to feel pain as a brother.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful to feel it. I want it out of my system.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the next step for you is drawing a line in the sand of how you really want to feel. So I'll have people in an event write down, I give them like a minute. I go, draw a line down the middle. Write down on the left side all the positive emotions you feel in an average week, not once a year, not once a month, the ones you regularly feel, whatever good feelings.
The average emotions in a positive week?
Positive. So what are some ones you feel in a week?
In a week? I feel...
At least once a week.
Okay, any emotion?
Positive. Start with the positive.
Positive.
Empowering emotions.
Hopeful.
Okay.
Thankful.
Yeah.
Loving.
Yeah.
And maybe some pride.
Good. And so the pride is sneaking in. Now, that's not ego pride. That's pride of like, you're growing.
Well, I'm learning about pride. I mean, it's like I said, it's really hard for me to feel proud of myself,
Yes.
you know?
So stop saying that.
Okay.
Because every time you say that, you're rewiring it back into your body over and over. It's a story. Yeah. It's like there's an old phrase that says, tell a lie big enough, loud enough and long enough, sooner or later people believe it. You know who said that? Hitler.
Oh, I think you were going to say Fauci.
Well, same difference.
But yeah, I didn't know it was going to be.
We're aligned on that one, brother.
You're a quicker thinker than I am. But we hear what we're saying.
But
yeah.
the conversation you've said with yourself, you've done. How many times do you think you've said that?
Said what?
That, it's hard for me. I say
it a lot. Yeah, it's because I think it's like having a new story for myself. Part of me is still, there's a heavy bit, even to my whole new story, having a new story. Yeah. Even having some success in my life, it's almost like some of it feels embarrassing, you know?
And some people feel like, the word people use is imposter syndrome. It's all bullshit. It's just fear that you're not enough. We all have that fear, brother. Yeah. I feel that at times. I don't feel it much now, but I'm 63 years old and I've done a shitload of things for 40 years, You
built enough patterns.
Yeah, I built up new patterns. Yeah. It's like a muscle. Everybody's got the muscle. If you use it, it grows. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? Yeah. It doesn't ever disappear, though. It just looks like it's not there. But if you demand that you push it beyond what it's comfortable with, and that's what you're doing right now. You're pushing beyond your comfort. You were settling for comfort to try to survive. Now you're like, F that. I want more out of this life. I'm not going to settle for that. But then you keep telling yourself the old story. So change your story, change your life. It sounds overly simplistic, but it is true.
Change your story, change your life.
What do we say all the time? We'll catch one of us saying, if I make it, or if our channel gets to 100,000 subscribers, or if we do this and that, then we'll be able to buy the house we want, whatever it is. We speak that so much that we've been telling each other we have to start saying when, because when you say when,
you're rewiring your brain.
You're rewiring your brain to know it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to.
Because when you rewire your brain, like Tony said, you feel it in your body.
Yeah.
And with Theo Von specifically, being a comedian, it's very difficult to feel positive emotions all the time because most comedians, they go into the lane of self-deprecating humor. They always are talking down on themselves to be funny, to get other people to laugh. Instead, he's having to overcome probably decades of patterns in his brain that he's developed to try to come across as funny when ultimately he was just talking down to himself and at his own expense to get people to laugh. So if you take that and put it into your own life of what am I doing? What habits have I created? What brain waves or neural pathways have I created in my brain where my body feels a certain way when I experience a negative emotion, when I speak it out loud instead of if, now we're saying when. So what is your if and what is your when? I think that's what we have to ask the audience is, what are you feeling and experiencing that your self-talk has become so self-deprecating that you can't move forward because you feel those negative emotions in your body?
Something I always struggled with, I don't now, but I did for pretty much my entire life or last 10 years. Whenever I would start to gain a little bit of weight and I didn't work out for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, I always said, well, now I'm back at it. Now I'm just going to get fat again, that this is the cycle that keeps happening. I'm never going to be able to overcome this. Even if I didn't say it out loud, I would always think, okay, it's happening again. What is that for you guys? Often it can be, oh, I'm trying another business venture. Oh, someone else is taking advantage of me. Finally, I'm not going to be able to make it because of this and that. And so you're speaking things over yourself. The ability to visualize, the power of visualization is so important, because what you visualize and what you speak has power. Even if you're not religious, it's just your brain has such a powerful thing to attract good things to you if you just speak life instead of always negativity on it.
But that's amazing. No, that's something that we don't think about a lot, is like, instead of just looking at the world, why don't you clean the weapon that you're looking at the world with?
You got it. Because people, think of it this way, Theo. People don't experience life. They experience the life they focus on.
Right.
So right now, if you're happy, you are deleting all the things you could be pissed off about or frustrated or worried about in the world. Yeah. If you're unhappy, you're deleting all the things that are great in your life.
Wow.
And our brains delete and they distort and they generalize. So if you don't direct it, you get whatever shows up. What's wrong is always available. What's wrong in the world is always available. What's right is also available. It's just which one you pick. And it isn't about positive thinking, because I've never been into positive thinking. People think that's what I do. It's not. I believe in intelligence. And so when you're in a lousy state of mind, you treat people poorly, you don't perform at the highest level, you're not happy. Yeah. When you're in a great state of mind, you treat people better, perform at a different place. And it's one of the reasons the humor is so valuable. Yeah. It changes people's state. And all of a sudden they're in a different place. They respond in a different place when they're laughing than when they're pissed off.
Yeah.
So why not train yourself to do that? You've trained yourself to find what's entertaining or funny in just about anything. It's what makes you as good as you are in that area. You have developed patterns of how to do it. You may not even be conscious of them all.
And this goes right into something I was thinking about, since it's like the new year, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
And yeah, because people so often say like New Year's resolution, or they're like, but that doesn't really, that's kind of like a one and done. It feels almost outdated, that idea. But how do you, I guess, and you just kind of answered, I guess, like how we change our perspective. So we change our attitude, that's really what you need to have a new experience.
Yeah, there's 3 decisions you're making every moment you're alive. Your audience can test this out. The first one is, what are you going to focus on? Now, when I say you make these decisions, Theo, I don't mean you're making them all consciously, right? So whatever you focus on, that's what you feel. If you're supposed to meet your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whoever at 7 o'clock, you get there at 7, they're not there. Some people are pissed off. Some people are worried. It's the same event. If it's 7:30 and they're not there, they've not called, they've not texted. Now what are you feeling? Some people go, I'm really pissed off. I'm really worried.
I'm really single.
Yeah, really single. It's 8:30, I haven't showed up. I'm full. I didn't wait for the bastard. But the point is, whether you're angry or whether you're worried had nothing to do with the event. It's the habits of your mind. The person who's worried thinks, well, maybe they're in a car accident. The person's pissed off. They did it again. So the first decision you make is, what are you going to focus on? And most people have patterns of focus.
Yeah.
So there's 3 I'll give you, your audience can test out. Do you tend to focus more on what you have or what's missing?
What's missing?
Yeah.
What's missing?
Do you tend to focus more on what you can control or what you can't control?
Can't.
Probably what I can control, but it's out of desperation, because I feel like I have to control everything.
Well, that's not a bad thing. You can't control everything, right? It's an illusion, but you can influence so much. You can control everything in you.
Okay.
And then the third one, do you tend to focus more on the past, the present, or the future?
The past.
Yeah.
Past,
So
more of the future.
Those
now.
3 patterns, if you do all 3 of them, if you constantly look at what's missing, it's hard to ever stay fulfilled or happy.
Yeah.
So you have to always do something to try to make yourself happy, because you're always noticing what's missing. That's just where your focus goes. There's always something missing. There's always something that's not missing. There's always something beautiful. If you focus on what you have, you're going to be more fulfilled. Second one, if you focus on what you can control, what you do, it's why you have your own business. It's why who you are. A lot of people focus on what they can't control. It's overwhelming. They're stressed out. They think of all those things. So if you constantly focus on what's missing, you can't control, and the past, which you can't change, what that makes is either angry or sad or frustrated or depressed.
Yeah, instead of just being like, I want to have this New Year's resolution, another rule for myself, I need to change the ruler.
That's good.
Right?
You got it.
It's like I need to, that's what I need to change.
That's
but
good,
a lot
Theo.
of times we don't even see that we're the ruler.
Yeah.
That's
It's a great metaphor. You know, like if you wanted to go to I don't know if you're into racing at all, but like a Le Mans, a 24-hour race, or a Baja 1000, you could have an amazing car, Ferrari, it's not going to last. You have to re-engineer that car to be able to take on the desert or drive for 24 hours or go to the ones that are in the desert there where they have a pipe so that when you go down, it still can get the air to the combustion of the engine.
Yeah.
We have to re-engineer ourselves to the times we're in.
Wow.
Jeez, dude.
Whatever you focus on, you feel. You can control what you do.
The past, the present, or the future. Most of my life, I was thinking about the bad mistakes I made, specifically in the opportunities I missed.
What do you guys think? Do you focus on what you don't have or what you do have more often? And then number 2, what do you focus on more, the past, present, and the future? You can let your past define you in a good way, though.
Yeah.
To where you look back with gratitude, with thankfulness of, I went through those trials, that suffering to make me the man or the woman that I am today. And it doesn't have to define all the decisions that you make in the future. You can be grateful for that. But I know for us, we are constantly thinking to the future now. What are the steps and disciplines that we need to take in the reverse engineering, or engineering ourselves, as Tony's saying, to become the best version of ourselves? You can't create one of the best race cars in the world if you don't engineer it for the track. You become the ruler, as Theo Von's saying, instead of being ruled all the time by your emotions. You take them and you put them in front of you, write them down and look at them and say, how do I reverse engineer these negative thoughts that I have to be positive for my future, to where I can speak hope, destiny, and life over my situation? And guys, we're on this journey too. We're not preaching at you. This is what we're doing in real time to become better men and better versions of ourselves, so that we can hold the weight of the calling that we have on our lives.
Yeah, I can't remember who said this. It might be Tony Robbins, that you have to be satisfied about the present and excited for the future. Because if you're only looking to the future, then you're missing what's happening right in front of your face.
You're not being present.
Especially if you have a kid, you're married, you're not enjoying your marriage. You're not enjoying your kid growing up because you're just thinking about, well, I have to make enough money for them to go to college. Like, yes, work towards that, but you have to be satisfied and grateful for the moment that you're in. The fact you're alive is alone a miracle. Once you can be satisfied with that, but then look towards the future to see what you can build, that's the component. If you're only lingering in the past, like I've done so much of my life, then you live with shame, you live with regret, you live with fear
and control
of what if things are going to come back to haunt you. Maybe you slept with that one girl and you have a kid that you didn't even know about 10 years later.
It's the cycle. It's shame, fear, and control. We learned this, right?
Yeah.
You go from one to the other. One is just an outset of the other.
Another person, a mentor of mine back in the day, told me something that always resonated and I will never forget. He said, enjoy the times of where you're not as successful. Enjoy those small times, because he said once you become successful and become more well known, your issues escalate. So
amplify.
So he said that he wishes he could go back. Again, he was thinking so much of the past. And just enjoy those moments. Enjoy being able to walk down the street and you don't have people running up to you, that you don't have scandals going on online, that somebody created a deep fake video of you and now it looks like you're having something crazy. Enjoy those times of being where you're at. And that's what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm like, we're not that well known yet, but I'm enjoying the journey and enjoying that we can just hang out and have a good time and know we're moving towards something, but it will happen.
Relatability is the key to success. And we want everybody that's watching us right now, type in the comments, what are your thoughts on Tony Robbins being interviewed by Theo Von? What are some key takeaways that you learned from this conversation that you think could really benefit the community that's watching this video? Because when you comment on our videos, guys, there's going to be people in perpetuity that watch this, that get to see your thoughts, your reaction, and your engagement. So right below, what do you think? What are the 3 steps and keys that you took away from this? And speaking of overcoming obstacles, guys, we have another video right here of Gordon Ramsay talking on the High Performance podcast about what he did to overcome challenges.
Amazing.
And to become the man that he is today. So we look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.
Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.